In my past life, my mother, Meng Yunhua, was an incurable saint. When my father cheated, she chose to forgive him for the sake of family unity. When my father's younger brother gambled and fell into debt, she used my life-saving money to fill the hole, causing me to miss the best treatment window and die of illness in a damp basement. Just before I died, she was still urging me to be kind. After my rebirth, my soul drifted in the air, on the verge of being sucked into Meng Yunhua's womb. I struggled with all my might to break free and suddenly crashed into another woman's body. She was the villainess my mother described as cold-hearted and profit-driven, and also her fake heiress sister. Back then, to cut off my mother's path as the true heiress returning home, this woman had once dislocated one of my mother's arms, although she ultimately lost and was driven out of the house. Yet, because of her way of doing things, she became even more prominent than when she was the fake heiress. At this moment, seeing the fetal heartbeat and embryo on the ultrasound, the woman picked up her phone and dialed swiftly, "Help me schedule an abortion, the sooner the better." I panicked, desperately shouting out my thoughts. "No, Mom, I'm your lucky baby, keep me, and I'll help you secure that neighboring land worth 10 billion. The voice on the other end of the phone paused for a moment, as if confirming, but my future mother just repeated coldly, "Yes, an abortion, the soonest possible." I was so scared I nearly lost my soul. "No, I finally managed to get rid of that saintly Meng Yunhua. I don't want to die again, Mom, listen to me. That piece of land in the east of the city, you've always wanted it, right? Everyone's eyeing it, but none of them know there are cultural relics buried underneath. The government is about to announce a new policy. Whoever acquires that land will have to hand over the relics for free and halt construction to cooperate with archaeological work for at least 3 years. Anyone who bids on it will lose their shirt, but only that 300 square meter abandoned warehouse right next to it to the south is the real treasure. In 3 months, the city planning department will announce that a new subway hub will be built there. Right now, the warehouse is valued at just 8 million. In 3 months, it won't go for less than 1 billion. I shouted with all my might, nearly depleting every ounce of energy in my tiny embryonic form. Meng Qingshua's fingers, holding the phone, paused ever so slightly. A flicker of doubt passed through her cool, phoenix-like eyes as she glanced down at her flat stomach. An auditory hallucination. Mr. Meng, are you still there?" The voice on the other end of the phone asked cautiously. Meng Qingxua snapped back to reality, her tone still unreadable. "I'll notify you about the surgery time." With that, she decisively hung up the phone. She stood up and walked to the massive floor-to-ceiling window, gazing down at the city below. Meng Qingxua, the fake daughter of the Meng family, at the age of 18, the real daughter, Meng Yunhua, was found and brought back. Instead of crying and wailing like the fake daughters in novels, Meng Qingxua calmly analyzed her situation. When the Meng parents proposed to send her off for a marriage alliance to pave the way for Meng Yunhua's return, she directly took action and dislocated one of Meng Yunhua's arms. She said, "My fate is mine to decide." That incident caused a huge uproar, and she was completely driven out of the Meng family without a single cent. Everyone thought she would fall into destitution from then on, but no one expected that 5 years later, she would return with the company she founded, becoming the woman in the business world that no one dared to provoke. How could such a woman allow an unexpected child to disrupt all her plans? I nervously sensed her emotions, afraid that she would pick up the phone again the next second. She remained silent for a long time, then picked up her coat and walked out in her high heels. "Mom, where are you going?" "On a site visit." Yes, seeing is believing. You should go check it out. The warehouse owner is in a hurry to emigrate and is looking for someone to take it off his hands." Meng Qingshua's footsteps paused once more, and then the sound of her high heels grew even more hurried. Meng Qingxua drove her flashy red sports car straight to the east side of the city, just as I had thought. Right next to that priceless commercial land, there was indeed a dilapidated old warehouse. A for rent/sale notice was posted at the warehouse entrance, the phone number on it nearly worn away by wind and rain. Meng Qingxua dialed the number. Upon hearing that someone wanted to buy the warehouse, the person on the other end sounded almost desperate. 8 million, take it or leave it, if you can accept it. We'll sign the contract right away. Behind her glasses, Meng Qingshua's eyes narrowed slightly, but her voice remained gentle. "Boss, this warehouse is in a remote location and isn't very large. Isn't 8 million a bit too high?" "Mom, don't waste your breath on him. This old man is shrewd. The more you haggle, the more suspicious he'll get. Just tell him your husband loves fishing around here, and you're buying it to turn into a rest stop, purely out of love." Meng Qing's snow-white lips twitched almost imperceptibly. Husband? She didn't even have a steady bed partner, but She still followed the voice in her heart, adopting a tone of lovesick devotion. To be honest, my husband loves fishing in that river over there, rain or shine. I just want to buy this place to fix it up as a spot for him to rest. The price. The boss on the other end of the phone indeed changed his attitude, becoming much more amiable. So that's how it is. That's wonderful. All right, just for your sincerity. If you really want it, I'll give you another 200,000 off. 7 million. 800,000, that's the lowest I can go. Meng Qingxue didn't hesitate. All right, I'll have my lawyer contact you right away to finalize the contract. After hanging up the phone, Meng Qingxue leaned back in the car seat, her slender fingers lightly tapping the steering wheel. She didn't speak, but I could sense that the wall in her heart had loosened just a fraction, a tiny, unformed embryo, yet it could foresee the future. It was utterly unbelievable, but the temptation of those 10 billion was all too real for someone like Meng Qingxue. Risk and reward were always directly proportional. Just then, her phone rang. 2 words flashed on the screen. Meng Yunhua. Meng Qingxue's eyes instantly turned cold. She swiped to answer, her voice devoid of any warmth. Speak. From the other end of the line came Meng Yunhua's soft, fragile voice, tinged with sobs. Little sister, I heard that you're pregnant. Well, aren't you well informed? Mom needs to be careful of her. She must have planted a spy around you, otherwise how would she know your secret? Meng Qingxue listened to my grumbling, her gaze growing even colder. None of your business. She just wanted to hang up the phone. Don't be like this, little sister. Meng Yunua's voice grew urgent. I'm doing this for your own good. A woman getting pregnant before marriage doesn't look good for her reputation. If you have the baby, I'll help raise it. Just think of it as if you're having it for me. Mom and Dad will definitely be overjoyed. I'm practically laughing in disbelief at this. Do-gooder's twisted logic. Help raise me. How noble of her. She can't have children of her own, so she wants to snatch me away from you to secure her position as the true heiress. Then, when you make it big, she can use me to extort money from you. Mom, give her a piece of your mind. Don't let her think she can walk all over you. Meng Qingxue took a deep breath. As if trying to suppress her anger, she enunciated each word clearly, saying, Meng Yunhua, have you lost your mind? My child is none of your business to meddle with. Get lost. With that, she hung up the phone and blocked the number. The whole sequence was executed so smoothly that it got my blood pumping. Yes, this is the mother I want. Strong, protective, and never taking a loss. Go, Mom, you're awesome. You're the best in the world. I excitedly did a somersault in the amniotic fluid. Meng Qingxue, however, rubbed her aching temples and muttered softly, Shut up, it's so noisy. The transfer of the warehouse was completed with unusual smoothness. The moment Meng Qingxue received the property deed, I could sense her mood had noticeably improved. She even, for the first time ever, didn't return to the company to handle official business, but instead drove to a high-end maternity and baby store. Watching her stand before rows of exquisite and adorable cribs, although her face still wore that unapproachable expression, her gaze unconsciously softened. Mom, are you picking out a bed for me? I want that solid wood one. Yes, that one. Sturdy, eco-friendly, most importantly, expensive. It matches the style of us mother and daughter. Meng Qingxue's gaze indeed fell on the baby bed with a 6-figure price tag. The salesperson's eyes lit up, immediately stepping forward with enthusiasm. But just then, a sharp female voice cut in. Well, if it isn't President Meng, what? A career-driven powerhouse like you is actually interested in children's things. The voice sounded familiar the moment I heard it, turning my head to look. It was indeed an old acquaintance, Zhang Lin, Meng Yunua's #1 best friend. In my past life, it was this Zhang Lin who constantly whispered in Meng Yunua's ear, calling me a debt collector, a jinx on my parents, the reason my father cheated and my mother's home was never at peace. That fool Meng Yunhua actually believed it. Meng Qingxue didn't even bother to lift her eyelids, directly telling the sales assistant, wrap up that bed and deliver it to this address. She handed over a black gold card, completely ignoring Zhang Lin the entire time, and Zhang Lin's face instantly flushed to the color of pig liver. She leaned in unwillingly, her tone dripping with sarcasm. I heard that President Meng recently secured that piece of land in the east of the city. What a clever move. But I've also heard that land is quite unlucky. The previous companies that touched it all ran into terrible misfortune. You'd better be careful, or you might end up trading your good fortune for money. Mom, don't pay her any mind. People like her are just jealous that you're doing better than they are. Her husband has been keeping several mistresses on the side, and she's still in the dark, counting money for others every day. She came out today to buy kidney tonifying stuff for her husband at the men's health hospital. Her husband's ammunition is running low. He hasn't delivered the goods for almost half a year. Meng Qingxue paused as she swiped her card, lifting her gaze to look at Zhang Lin with a faint, knowing smile. Since Miss Zhang is so concerned about my blessings, perhaps you should first worry about your husband's kidneys. I heard there's a new men's health supplement on the market recently, quite effective. With the Zhang family's vast wealth, I'm sure you wouldn't mind spending a little on that. Zhang Lin's face instantly paled, pointing at Meng Qingxue. Her lips trembled, unable to utter a word. Meng Qingxue took back her card, picked up her bags, and walked past her in high heels without so much as an extra glance. Well done, Mom. Tear her mouth apart. I excitedly clapped for my mom back home. Meng Qingxue casually piled the trophies in the living room, poured herself a glass of water, and sat on the sofa. She stared at the tiny gestational sac on the ultrasound report, lost in thought. This child is truly a lucky star. Not only can she bring immense wealth, but she can also help her speak up against others. Keeping her seems like a good choice, just. As she was thinking this, the doorbell rang. Meng Qingxue frowned. She never allowed guests to visit her private domain. Opening the door, she was surprised to see her adoptive father, Meng Dihai, standing outside, followed by Meng Yunhua, whose eyes were red and swollen. Meng Dihai wore an accusatory expression. Qingxue, you're being so unreasonable. How could you speak to your sister like that? She was just trying to show her concern for you. Meng Yunhua immediately chimed in, crying as if her heart were breaking. Sister, that's not what I meant. I was just worried you might be too tired on your own. Here they come, the saint and her clueless father teaming up for some emotional blackmail. They're just jealous you secured the land in the East District. They're trying to use family ties as an excuse to get a piece of the pie. Meng Yinua's husband recently suffered a failed investment, losing over 100 million, and they're desperate for money to bail him out. They're planning to use the excuse of having you rest during pregnancy to hand over the project and let their company take over. Meng Qingxue sneered coldly, leaning against the doorframe with her arms crossed, watching the father-daughter pair with leisurely amusement. Are you done? If you're done, get out. Meng Dihai's face instantly darkened. What kind of attitude is this, Meng Qingxue? I raised you for 18 years, even if there's no credit. There's hard work, now that you've made something of yourself. Is this how you talk to me? Meng Yunhua also tugged at his arm, choking back sobs as she said, Dad, don't be angry. My sister might just be in a bad mood. Sister, we really have your best interests at heart. As a woman, managing such a large project is exhausting, and it could even affect the baby. My husband's company happens to have experience in real estate development. Let him help you. With our whole family working together, wouldn't that be better? What a sanctimonious thing to say. Anyone who didn't know better would think they were such a kind-hearted family. Ugh, how shameless. They make robbing money sound so refined. Mom, hit back. Tell them that Meng Yinua's husband's company is just an empty shell. The little money left in the accounts isn't even enough to pay the employees taking over your project. Are they even worthy? Meng Qingshua's smile widened, carrying a hint of mockery. Family, she said, as if hearing the biggest joke in the world. When you drove me out of the house back then, why didn't you remember we were family? As for your husband's company, she paused, her gaze falling on Meng Yinua's pale face. A man who even buys his underwear from his mistress. What kind of experience could his company have? Experience in bankruptcy? You, Meng Yinua trembled with rage. You're talking nonsense. My husband isn't that kind of person. Whether it is or not, you can just go back and check his credit card statements to find out. Meng Qingshu, I couldn't be bothered to waste any more words on them. As for my project, I don't need you to worry about it. The door is over there. I won't see you out. With that, she made a move to close the door. Meng Dihai grew frantic and shoved his hand against the door. Meng Qingxue, don't be so ungrateful. That piece of land was something our Meng family had our eyes on. You know exactly what underhanded tricks you used to snatch it away. If you don't hand over the project today, don't blame me for disregarding our father-daughter bond. This was the moment the dagger was drawn from the map. The pretense was dropped, and the threat was laid bare. I was so angry I could only kick my legs in frustration inside my belly. That old man is wicked. They never had any interest in that land. They only came because they heard the news that the subway is about to be built on the land you bought. This information is classified internally, so how could they know? There must be a mole. Meng Qingshua's gaze instantly sharpened. She knew that the number of people who could access that level of classified information was extremely limited. It seems there is a traitor within her company. Just then, a black Rolls-Royce slowly pulled up at the entrance of the villa. The car door opened, and a tall, imposing man with an overwhelming presence stepped out. He was dressed in a well-tailored handmade suit, his face handsome, but his eyes were like ice from a 1,000-year glacier, making it impossible to meet his gaze. The man walked straight to the door, his gaze sweeping past Meng Dehan and Meng Yunhua before finally settling on Meng Qingshua's face. His eyes drifted downward, landing on her flat stomach. Then, he raised a document in his hand, his voice low and magnetic, yet carrying an undeniable sense of pressure. Meng Qingxue, explain this. I saw several eye-catching words on the document cover, DNA paternity test report. As for the man, I was even more familiar with him, Lu Huai. A tycoon I saw every day in financial news in my past life, and also Meng Qingshua's biggest business rival. At this moment, his thin lips parted slightly, uttering 5 words that left me stunned. The child is mine. Lu Huai's appearance froze the very air at the doorway. The greed and anger on Meng Dihai and Meng Yunua's faces were instantly replaced by shock and a trace of fear. The name Lu Huai itself represented absolute authority in the business world of City A. Meng Qingxue merely raised her beautiful eyebrows slightly, reached out to take the document, glanced at the conclusion, and casually tossed it onto the console table in the entryway. Her tone was as calm as if she were discussing the weather. So, what brings you here, Mr. Lu? To claim a relative? Wow. It's actually Lu Huai, a regular on the covers of financial magazines, a super tycoon worth hundreds of billions. Mom's amazing. Even a one-night stand is of such high quality. This is perfect now, with the strong joining forces. The Meng family's eccentric father and daughter have even less of a chance, as soon as... My inner thoughts fell silent. Meng Yunhua, as if grasping at a lifeline, immediately put on a pitiful expression and spoke to Lu Huai. President Lu, you mustn't be fooled by my sister. She's a scheming woman with no scruples, who knows how many fathers this child has. As she spoke, she subconsciously stroked her own lower abdomen, a hint of eerie superiority in her gesture. A woman's most important asset is her reputation for purity. Don't let your child grow up not even knowing who their father is, she added softly. Lu Huai's gaze was as cold as ice. He didn't even glance at Meng Yunhua, as if she were nothing but thin air. He just stared at Meng Qingxue, repeating, talk to me. Seeing this, Meng Dihai still wanted to play the old card. Mr. Lu, Qingxue has been spoiled by us since she was a child. Please don't take it to heart. As for the child, we can get lost. Lu Huai finally spared him a single word, yet carrying the weight of 1,000 pounds. Meng Dihai's face instantly flushed to the color of pig liver, but he didn't dare utter a single sound of protest. He dragged the unwilling Meng Yunhua and slunk away. Meng Qingxue crossed her arms, looking at Lu Huai with eyes full of scrutiny and wariness. Talk about what? Money. Meng Qingxue, I'm not so low as to use a child for extortion. If you're worried, we can sign an agreement. This child has nothing to do with your Lu family. Her words were resolute, but I knew she was testing the waters. And also protecting herself. Lu Huai approached step by step, his tall figure almost enveloping her. The child must be born, he said in a tone that brooked no argument, and must have a complete family. Meng Qingxue laughed, a mocking, absurd kind of laugh. Mr. Lu, have you been watching too many TV dramas? A complete family, with you, the two of us are practically sworn enemies who wish each other would go bankrupt tomorrow. Business is business, but a child is a child. Lu Huai's logic was terrifyingly clear. Rather than letting outsiders speculate about the child's origins, it's better to give him a legitimate identity. It's beneficial for you, for the child, and for the Lu family's reputation. He took a velvet box from his suit pocket, opened it, and inside was a massive pink diamond ring. Let's get married. The project in the east of the city and 10% of the shares in the global center under my name will serve as the betrothal gifts. I was so shocked I blew a bubble in the amniotic fluid. Holy crap, 10% of Global Center shares. How many zeros is that worth? Dad's being generous. Mom, say yes. This isn't just marriage, it's a pie falling from the sky, and a diamond-studded one at that. A contractual marriage where both parties get what they need. It's practically tailor-made for you. Meng Qingxue was clearly stunned by Lu Huai's rather crude proposal. She stared at the ring for a full 10 seconds before finding her voice again. Lu Huai, have you lost your mind? I'm perfectly clear-headed. Lu Huai replied without a trace of emotion. I need an heir and a wife who can manage the household without causing me trouble. You, Meng Qingxue, are currently the most suitable candidate. He paused briefly before adding, of course, after marriage, we won't interfere in each other's private lives. Our finances will remain separate, and we'll only act like a loving couple when necessary. If you agree, meet me at the Civil Affairs Bureau tomorrow at 9 in the morning. It was practically a business contract, clear terms, distinct interests. Meng Qingxue fell silent. She was a businesswoman, accustomed to weighing the pros and cons. Marrying Lu Huai would give her a powerful ally, completely free her from the Meng family's entanglements, and provide her child with a background no one would dare to bully, and all she had to give in return was a marriage certificate. This deal is a win no matter how you look at it. Mom, don't hesitate. Opportunities like this don't come around twice. Think about it, if Meng Yuno ever dares to bother you again, you can just play the Lu Hui card, and she'll be crying and begging to call you dad. Meng Qingxue took a deep breath, as if she had finally made up her mind. She didn't reach for the ring but instead extended her hand. Where's the contract? I want to see the specific prenuptial agreement. A faint, almost imperceptible curve seemed to tug at the corner of Lu Hui's lips. My lawyer will be here in half an hour. The next day, the news of Meng Qingxue and Lu Hui's marriage exploded like a bombshell, sending shockwaves through the entire upper echelons of City 8. No one could understand how these two bitter rivals, who had fought tooth and nail in the business world, could suddenly have a whirlwind marriage. The most devastated was undoubtedly the Meng family. Meng Yunhua directly called Meng Qingxue, her voice sharp and piercing. Meng Qingxue, you bitch. What kind of seductive tricks did you use to lure President Lu? Did you plan this all along? Meng Qingxue was leisurely sipping bird's nest porridge, which had just been delivered that morning by the nutritionist from Lu Hui's home. She took a leisurely sip before speaking calmly. Instead of barking at me here, you should worry more about your own stomach. I've heard that too many of those dubious folk remedies can lead to birth defects. You're talking nonsense. You're just jealous that I'm carrying a son. Meng Yuno hung up the phone in a fit of rage, yet I could clearly sense that my mother's mood had become exceptionally good because of this phone call. Mom, well done, that'll teach her. This fool is so used to bossing people around, she actually thought she could meddle in your life. Let's keep tearing her apart. The days that followed passed by with an unusual sense of ease. Lu Hui indeed kept his word. Apart from sending a nutritionist, driver, and bodyguard to take care of Meng Qingxue's daily life in every possible way, he hardly ever showed up. Meng Qingxue also enjoyed the peace and quiet, focusing on her pregnancy while handling company affairs remotely. Occasionally, Meng Yuno would still send some passive-aggressive messages. Either she's showing off the limited edition bag her husband just bought her, or she's hinting that her in-laws have already prepared a mountain of gold and silver for their unborn grandson. Meng Qingxue ignored them all, treating it as nothing more than a clown's performance, until one day Meng Yunhua sent an ultrasound image with a faint bulge circled in red. The caption reads, Sister, look, the doctor said this baby looks like a boy, not like some people, with a pointed belly, clearly a money-losing burden. The Lu family has a vast fortune, and if the first child isn't a boy, you'll soon be kicked out. Listen to your sister's advice, go check the gender. If it's a girl, let's swap. I'll endure the hardship for you. Once you secure your place in the Lu family, just remember to help our parents. I looked at that ultrasound report and couldn't help but roll my eyes. What era is this? Still believing you can tell the baby's gender by the shape of the belly. Besides, with her taking those gender-changing pills every day, even if it really is a boy, who knows what he'll look like when he's born? Meng Qingxue seemed to have heard my thoughts, letting out a light laugh before replying with just 2 words, congratulations. Then, she posted a moment on social media, featuring a picture of the entire set of top-tier jade jewelry that Lu Hui had just sent over. The caption read, My husband says, daughters should be raised in luxury. Meng Qingxue's moment instantly set the entire socialite circle abuzz. Likes and comments flooded in, hitting 99+ within minutes. Oh my god, President Lu is so doting. I've only seen this imperial green set at an auction. I'm so jealous. This is the right way to marry into a wealthy family. What's wrong with having a daughter? The princess of the Lu family was born with a diamond spoon in her mouth. Meanwhile, under Meng Yuno's social media post, the tone took on a slightly different nuance. The same plastic sisters who had been praising her for her good fortune and giving birth to a son now all seemed to have made a pact, staying as quiet as chickens. The few comments that did appear were just dry congratulations. Meng Yunhua was so angry she smashed a cup right at home. Her useless husband not only failed to comfort her but instead complained, why are you comparing yourself to Meng Qingxue? She's now Mrs. Lu. Can't you just behave and stop embarrassing us in public? The couple had a huge fight, and Meng Yunhua ran back to the Meng family in tears. Meng Dihai watched his daughter being wronged, his heart burning with anger, but he didn't dare to confront Lu Hui, so he could only take his anger out on Meng Qingxue. He had Meng Yunhua call Meng Qingxue, saying it was a family dinner and insisting that she and her husband must attend. Meng Qingxue hadn't intended to go, but Lu Hui happened to have a social engagement cancelled that day. He looked at Meng Qingxue and said calmly, it might be good to go and see, to avoid them always scheming behind our backs. And so, for the first time as family, I and my so-called parents appeared at the Meng family's dinner table. At the table, Meng Dihai and Meng Yunhua's mother-in-law played off each other, every sentence revolving around carrying on the family line. Yunhua, your belly is truly promising. Our old Lin family has been longing for this golden grandson. Unlike some girls who are too career-driven, their minds have become wild, not understanding that managing the household and raising children are a woman's true duty. Meng Qingxue elegantly cut her steak, not even bothering to lift her eyelids. Lu Hui remained cold-faced throughout the entire meal. not uttering a single word except when serving dishes to Meng Qingxue and Meng Yunuo watched Lu Huai's considerate behavior toward his wife. Her eyes turning red with envy, she couldn't help but speak up. "Sister, you and President Lu have such a good relationship," but she shifted her tone, looking at Lu Huai. "President Lu, please don't mind me speaking out of turn. My sister has always been strong-willed since she was little, and she might not be the best at taking care of others. In the future, when you're tired from work, please be patient with her. Unlike me, I believe that women should always put family first." I was practically nauseated listening to her. Here we go again, the saintly green tea act. Why doesn't she mention that her husband's company is on the brink of bankruptcy, and it was she who begged Meng Dihai to pour money into that black hole? Her own family is almost starving, yet she has the nerve to lecture my mother about what family means. Lu Huai wiped the corner of his mouth with a napkin and finally spoke up. His gaze swept over Meng Yunhua as he calmly asked, "Mrs. Lin's company seems to be having some cash flow issues lately, doesn't it?" Meng Yuno's face turned deathly pale in an instant. Lu Huai continued, "My wife doesn't like to be disturbed. If there's a next time, I can't guarantee whether the Lin group will still see the light of day tomorrow." With that one sentence, the entire room fell into a dead silence. Meng Yuno's mother-in-law and Meng Dihai's faces alternated between green and pale, not daring to utter another word. That meal was truly satisfying and thoroughly enjoyable. On the way home, I could sense that Meng Qingxue was in high spirits. She even took the initiative to ask Lu Huai, "Why did you help me today?" Lu Huai kept his eyes on the road ahead, his tone calm and indifferent. "They disturbed my meal." He paused, then added another sentence, "Moreover, my wife, Lu Huai's wife, is not someone they have the right to lecture." Day by day passed, and Mother's belly grew bigger and bigger. Although Lu Huai couldn't be there in person, he sent a steady stream of supplements, nutritionists, and obstetric experts to the house. My nursery was even transformed by him into a dreamy fairy tale castle. As for Meng Yuno, things didn't seem to be going so well on her end. Occasionally, I would hear some news about her from my mother's updates. They say her morning sickness was particularly severe. She'd vomit whatever she ate and had lost a lot of weight. What's more, her emotions were extremely unstable, and she often fought fiercely with her husband over the slightest things, and she was still taking that fetal gender conversion pill every single day without fail. Once, when Meng Qingxue went for a prenatal checkup, she actually ran right into her in the hospital corridor. It had been several months since they last met, and Meng Yunoa looked haggard and worn, with dark circles under her eyes, though her belly was also quite large. Her entire being exuded an indescribable sense of desolation. In contrast, Meng Qingxue, well taken care of, had a rosy complexion. Apart from her belly, she hadn't gained any weight elsewhere, still looking every bit the radiant star she was. The difference between the two was starkly apparent. As Meng Yunhua gazed at Meng Qingxue, the envy in her eyes was almost palpable. "You're quite the free spirit," she said with a hint of bitterness, "dumping all the company affairs and just lazing around at home as a freeloader. Doesn't Mr. Lu say anything about it?" Meng Qingxue couldn't be bothered to respond and simply walked straight ahead. Meng Yunhua, however, refused to let it go and followed her. "Meng Qingxue, I'm warning you, don't get too smug. Once I give birth to a son, our Lin family's position in the Meng family will be completely secure. Dad said he'll hand the Meng family over to my son. When that time comes, let's see how you, with just a daughter, can still act so arrogant." I couldn't help but shake my head at the whole thing. What time is it, and she's still going on about having a son? Doesn't she realize something is wrong with her body? I can even feel that the life force of the fetus in her womb is very weak. If she keeps taking those messy medications, she might not only fail to have a son but also lose the child altogether. Meng Qingshua's footsteps came to a halt. She turned around, looking at Meng Yunhua for the first time with an almost pitying gaze. "Meng Yunhua, do you really think a son can save your pathetic life?" What do you mean?" "What I mean is," Meng Qingxue enunciated each word clearly, "instead of pinning your hopes on an unborn fetus, you should spend some time checking your husband's medical report. I heard Mr. Lin's sperm motility seems to have some issues." After saying this, Meng Qingxue no longer lifted her pale face, turning around and walking into the specialist consultation room, leaving Meng Yuno alone, her face alternating between green and pale. From that day on, Meng Yuno completely quieted down. Later on, I heard from company gossip that the Lin family was in an uproar. It turned out that Meng Yuno's husband had long been living an unhealthy lifestyle, which had caused health issues, making it difficult for him to impregnate a woman. Whose child is it in Meng Yuno's belly? After all, this matter became a mystery and the biggest joke in the upper-class circles of City A. The Meng and Lin families completely fell out. Meng Yuno was driven back to her parents' home, and she nearly went mad, and my mother, in a state of Peace also welcomed my due date. That day, Lu Hui cancelled all his meetings and stayed by the delivery room the entire time. When the nurse carried me out and told him that both mother and daughter were safe, I saw this man, who had always remained unflappable even in the face of a collapsing mountain, his eyes actually reddening. He carefully took me from the nurse's hands, his movements clumsy yet filled with tenderness. Anan. He whispered my name, Anan. Welcome to this world. I looked at him and grinned, my toothless mouth wide open. The 100-day celebration the Lu family held for their eldest granddaughter was so grand that the media couldn't stop talking about it for a full 2 weeks. I was named Lu Nianan, with the nickname Anan, meaning peace and smooth sailing, a wish my ice-cold parents might not even have realized they were making lying in my gold and jade inlaid baby carriage. I felt the hypocrisy and flattery swirling around me amid the clinking of glasses, yet my heart remained utterly calm. The beginning of this life was nothing short of a dream. Meng Yuno indeed did not appear at the banquet. According to the intelligence network of the nanny, Meng Yuno gave birth to a son, but the child was born with defects. Both the urinary and reproductive systems had severe issues. He needed to stay in an incubator for a long time and would have to undergo countless surgeries in the future. The Lin family firmly insisted that it was caused by Meng Yuno recklessly taking gender-changing pills and refused to acknowledge this grandson. Directly kicking both mother and child out of the house, Meng Dihai did want to attend the 100-day banquet in an attempt to mend the relationship, but he didn't even receive an invitation and was stopped by security guards outside the hotel. Listening to this news, I contentedly kicked my legs in the soft baby blanket. Evil begets evil, serves them right, at least they won't come to tarnish my good days. Meng Qingxue, who was listening to her assistant's report nearby, almost imperceptibly paused as she lifted the bowl of bird's nest soup, her gaze sweeping over me with a hint of indifference. She had recovered exceptionally well after giving birth, her figure as slender and graceful as before, yet there was now an indescribable softness in her expression that hadn't been there before the pregnancy. Of course, this softness would instantly be replaced by her familiar sharpness whenever she faced outsiders. Mom, look at me, am I not the cutest little one today? I waved my chubby little hands at her, babbling with all my might. Meng Qingxue set down her teacup, gestured for her assistant to pause, then walked over to the stroller. She bent down and gently poked my cheek with her finger. Be quiet. Her tone was still rather cool, but her movements were gentle. Actions speak louder than words. You clearly love me, I thought to myself, feeling quite pleased. At that moment, Lu Hui walked over. He was wearing a custom-made dark gray suit today, exuding an imposing aura that made conversations unconsciously quiet down wherever he went. He walked to the other side of the stroller, his gaze settling on me. Looks like you, he said to Meng Qingxue after a moment of observation. Meng Qingxue raised an eyebrow. Is that a bad thing? Not at all. Lu Hui nodded. Smart enough, and also, formidable enough. Dad, are you praising me? Why does it sound a bit strange? Lu Hui's lips seemed to twitch slightly before he turned to look at Meng Qingxue. The official planning documents for the warehouse in the east of the city have been issued. A sharp glint flashed in Meng Qingxue's eyes. Is the news confirmed? Yes, it will be announced next Monday. The subway hub station, with its core exit less than 50 meters south of the warehouse. Lu Hui's tone was calm, as if he were commenting on the weather. Now, the valuation of that land has increased 20-fold. Many who previously misjudged it are now trying to find out who owns the warehouse. 1 billion. 1 billion, Mom, did you hear that? We're rich. I was so excited I nearly jumped up from my seat in the car. This immense fortune had finally, truly landed. The appreciation of this piece of land firmly established Meng Qingxue's unshakable position in the business world. Her decision back then, to push through despite all opposition and even use a large amount of liquid capital to buy this wasteland, had become a legendary business case. Meng Qingxue took a deep breath. Even for someone like her, facing such monumental success, it was hard to keep her heart completely calm. She instinctively touched the jade bracelet on her wrist. It was a gift from Lu Hui after she gave birth to me, said to be an heirloom passed down to the daughters-in-law of the Lu family. It seems this lucky baby of mine truly lives up to the name. She looked at me, her eyes carrying a hint of inquiry and a deeper curiosity. Lu Hui also turned his gaze toward me, those profound eyes seemingly capable of seeing through everything. He didn't speak, but I knew, this cheap father of mine had a mind as clear as a mirror. He might not be able to explain the reason I could foresee the future, but he was absolutely certain of the astonishing fortune my arrival had brought. After the 100-day celebration, life gradually settled into a routine. Meng Qingxue began to gradually return to the company, but she adjusted her work mode, often working remotely from the study at home, spending far more time with me than the average working mother. Lu Huai remained busy, but he made it a point to come home for dinner every single day. Without fail, he would come to see me before I fell asleep, sometimes touching my little hand with his long, slightly stiff fingers. I could sense that this quiet, reserved man was trying hard to learn how to be a father. The peaceful days didn't last long before a shadow quietly drifted in. It was a weekend afternoon. Meng Qingxue was in the study having a video conference. While I lay on the carpet nearby playing with educational toys, the meeting was about the company's next key bidding project, a piece of comprehensive land in the coastal New District. The competition was fierce, and among the competitors was the Meng family's company, which was now barely surviving and trying to use this opportunity to turn things around. As I played, I kept my ears open, listening intently, when I heard Meng Qingshue's marketing director confidently discussing his market analysis and pricing strategy. My heart suddenly skipped a beat. No, this strategy is flawed, the pricing is too low, and the focus is on the wrong supporting plans. The Meng family somehow got insider information. Their prepared proposal is entirely tailored to counter this flawed strategy. If Mom follows this plan, not only will she lose the bid, but she'll also be questioned for her professional competence due to the unreasonable pricing, damaging the company's reputation. In my panic, I threw away the rattle in my hand and babbled frantically in Meng Qingshue's direction. Meng Qingxue was intently listening to the presentation. Hearing my commotion, she glanced at me and signaled with her eyes for me to be quiet. How could I possibly calm down? Mom, believe me, this director Zhao is suspicious. Does he have a mistress in Macau who owes a huge gambling debt? He's been bribed by Meng Dihai. Meng Dihai promised to help him repay the debt. I desperately poured out my thoughts, using almost every ounce of strength I had. Meng Qingshue's fingers, which had been tapping on the keyboard, came to a halt. She looked at Director Zhao's sincere face on the screen, then glanced at me in the crib. My little face flushed with anxiety. She didn't immediately lose her temper, but calmly interrupted Director Zhao's presentation. Director Zhao, I think we need to reconsider the basis for this quotation. Additionally, regarding the supporting planning section, I believe we should focus more on future educational resources and smart community development, rather than the commercial entertainment you emphasized. Director Zhao on the other end of the video call was clearly taken aback for a moment, then quickly nodded. MS, Meng is right. I didn't consider it thoroughly enough. I'll have the team adjust it right away. After the meeting ended, Meng Qingxue closed her laptop, walked over to me, and picked me up. What's all the fuss about? She looked at me, her gaze sharp. You said Director Zhao was bribed. Yes. Yes, it's him, the mole. Mom, hurry up and investigate him. Check his overseas accounts. Check that mistress of his in Macau. I nodded vigorously, though the gesture looked a bit comical coming from an infant's body. Meng Qingxue stared at me for a few seconds, then took out her phone and dialed a number. Help me investigate someone. Zhao Mingyuan from the marketing department. Focus on his financial transactions over the past 6 months, especially overseas, and his connections in Macau. She paused, then added, quickly and discreetly. The call ended, and Meng Qingxue carried me over to the floor-to-ceiling window. The lingering glow of the sunset cast a golden hue over the city, also reflecting on her calm profile. And then, she murmured to herself, as if speaking to me, if what you said is true. She didn't finish her sentence, but I knew that Director Zhao was about to be in serious trouble. 3 days later, the results came out. The evidence was conclusive. Zhao Mingyuan's mistress in Macau had incurred a gambling debt of 20 million, and just half a month ago, a distant relative of his had mysteriously received a huge sum from an overseas offshore company into their account, exactly 20 million. After layers of investigation, the ultimate source of the funds was traced back to a shell company controlled by Meng Dihai. Meng Qingxue did not report it to the police. Instead, she directly presented all the evidence right in front of Zhao Mingyuan. Zhao Mingyuan's face turned ashen as he knelt on the ground, begging for mercy. Meng Qingxue merely looked at him coldly. Resign on your own and get out of this industry, otherwise, this evidence will end up in the inboxes of the Economic Crime Investigation Unit and your wife. After dealing with the mole, Meng Qingxue swiftly adjusted the bidding proposal. In the end, during that intense bidding war, Meng Qingshue's company emerged victorious with a precise bid and forward-thinking planning. Meanwhile, the Meng family company, which had prepared with faulty intelligence and attempted a desperate gamble, completely lost any hope of turning the tables. It is said that upon learning the result, Meng Dihai suffered a heart attack on the spot and was rushed to the hospital. The night the news arrived, Lu Huai came home early for once. He held a delicate velvet box in his hand and handed it to Meng Qingxue, who was feeding me. Congratulations, he said succinctly. Meng Qingxue opened the box to reveal a Diamond necklace, as blue as the sea and worth a fortune. President Liu, you've been too generous. Meng Qingshua's tone was calm, but a flicker of amusement flashed in her eyes. Liu Huai's gaze fell on me, lingering for a long moment before he slowly spoke, his tone carrying an indescribable certainty. It seems our family's lucky fish not only attracts wealth, he paused, but can also ward off evil. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. Mom used a pesticide bottle to store cooking oil. I said to throw it away, but she said it had been washed and was clean. I told her that eating pesticides would cause instant death, or at least organ failure if not fatal, but she slapped me and scolded me, saying I thought I knew everything just because I'd read a few books. I threw the bottle of oil directly into the trash can. Mom, annoyed, kicked me, picked up the bottle of oil from the trash can, poured it into my mouth, and angrily scolded, "Didn't I say you couldn't eat it? I want to see if you'll die after eating it, you prodigal son, wasting my oil." I died of poisoning after consuming that oil. When I opened my eyes again, I was back to the day Mom put oil in a pesticide bottle. You silly girl, what are you spacing out for? Hurry up and hold the bottle properly. You're always so scatterbrained. I don't know who you take after. Mom nudged my elbow hard. I was suddenly stunned. Had I been reborn, and I was reborn to the day Mom used the pesticide bottle to hold oil? In my previous life, my mother used a pesticide bottle to store cooking oil. At the time, I desperately tried to stop her, telling her that eating pesticides would kill people, and even if she was lucky enough to survive, her organs would fail. I tried to stop her from pouring the oil and wanted to throw the oil that had been poured into the bottle into the trash. My mother was furious, slapped me, and scolded me for being conceited after only a few years of schooling. But at that time, I directly threw that pesticide bottle containing oil into the trash can. Mom got even angrier. She kicked me, picked up the bottle of oil from the trash can, and started pouring it into my mouth, yelling, "Didn't you say you couldn't eat it? I'd like to see if you'll die after eating it, you good for nothing. How dare you waste my oil?" After drinking the oil, I died of poisoning, but Mom, arm in arm with Dad, smiled happily. "It's good that she's dead. Now we can get the money from those two old folks. If we don't get this money, what will our son in my belly eat and where in the future?" Anyway, she was just a money pit. It was only at this moment that I suddenly realized this was all a conspiracy, and Mom thought I was a girl and would be a burden in the future. So I was thrown to my grandparents' house as soon as I was born. My grandparents had a huge fight with my mom over this. At the time, after my grandparents passed away, the government gave us a compensation payment, and she had always harbored ill intentions towards it. To get that compensation, to provide for the future needs of the son in their belly, they never intended for me to live. Mom, be careful, don't spill it, it'll be wasted if you do. I snapped back to reality, staring at the bottle, watching my mom pour rapeseed oil into a pesticide bottle, and smiled. Mom looked at me, as if she wanted to say something, but in the end, she said nothing. I watched as the pressed rapeseed oil was poured, drop by drop, into the bottle that had once held pesticides. Then, watching my mother pour the oil into the pan, where it sizzled, I suppressed my inner excitement. At dinner that evening, my father called out, "Tiffany, come out and eat." My mother impatiently said, "Don't bother whether she eats or not. If she wants to eat, she eats. If not, then forget it. A money waster. It'd be best if she died. Then the family could save some oil and rice." In all these years, I've never truly felt their care, simply because when I was born, I contracted neonatal pneumonia and was a premature baby, spending a month in an incubator, which cost them a lot of money. Moreover, my mother desperately wanted a son, but I was a daughter, so, not long after I left the hospital, my mother dropped me off at my grandparents' house and never looked back to them. I was just a despised money pit back then. They wouldn't visit me once a year, and they never bought me new clothes for holidays. If my grandparents hadn't passed away last year, and if relatives and friends hadn't constantly urged them, I would never have been taken back by them. Even now that I'm back, they're not particularly good to me. I closed the book, took a deep breath, opened the door, and went out, pulling up a chair and sitting down. I merely glanced at the dishes on the table a few extra times before my mother shot me a glare. "What are you looking at? This meat is for your brother. You're not entitled to it." After saying that, my mother even patted her bulging belly, her face full of smiles, as if the child in her womb was definitely a son. I sneered inwardly. They had gone to great lengths to have a son, seeking medical advice everywhere, and now, after finally conceiving, it was said that a hospital checkup confirmed it was a boy. I stared at the large table of dishes, stir-fried with oil from pesticide bottles, and a faint smile touched my lips. Mom glanced at me, then picked up a piece of meat put it in her mouth, and her eyes crinkled with laughter along with Dad's. I thought to myself, whether this child can be born successfully is still an unknown. After my mom ate a piece of meat, she put another piece on my dad's plate, telling him to eat it while it was hot, saying it wouldn't taste good once it cooled. She also ate a piece herself. They were practically meat lovers, with 5 or 6 dishes on the table, only one seaweed soup, and the rest all meat. I watched them, took a large steamed bun, and stuffed it into my mouth. Just as I picked up my chopsticks, before I could even grab any food, my mom slapped the back of my hand hard. "What are you doing? Are these dishes for you to eat?" The stinging pain on the back of my hand made me frown. I put down my chopsticks, endured the pain, and said with a smile, "Mom is right. These dishes are for my brother. I won't eat them. Mom should eat more. Mom eats more, so my brother can grow in Mom's belly. I'll just have steamed buns and seaweed soup." After saying that, I used a large ladle to scoop a big spoonful of seaweed soup into my bowl. I ate the steamed buns with seaweed soup very quickly. My mom listened to what I just said, then stuffed several more pieces of meat into her mouth. They kept discussing what to buy, what to add to the house, what formula to drink, what diapers to use, and what brand of clothes to wear once the baby in her belly was born. However, all these years, I have never worn any clothes they bought. Therefore, in their hearts, the child in her belly is their flesh and blood, and I am just an outsider. In my previous life, for the sake of my mother and the child in her womb, I cruelly threw that bottle of oil into the trash, only to be severely beaten. I'll never forget the scene where my mother held my head, shoved it into that trash can, and poured oil into my mouth. My good intentions were taken for granted, and I was cursed as a prodigal son, wasting her oil. Since that's the case, why should I remind them that putting oil in a pesticide bottle could be fatal? That's their destiny. I don't need to risk my own life to interfere. My parents were deep in discussion, my dad excitedly pouring himself some wine. They were both enthusiastically talking about what they would do after their son was born. Meanwhile, I quickly finished one large steamed bun, then started on a second. My mom stared at the second bun I was holding and said, "Are you a pig, eating 2 buns? It was my dad who retorted to my mom, "It's just a bun, isn't it? Let her eat. She eats buns, and we and our son eat meat." Perhaps my dad's words, "me and our son," made my mother happy for a while. She didn't say anything, so I quickly ate. After dinner, my mom asked my dad to take her to buy things for my unborn brother, and told me to wash the dishes. Then, as my mom was about to throw away the leftover dishes, I grabbed her arm, looked at the unfinished food on the table, silently swallowed, and said, "Mom, don't throw it away. It's such a waste to throw away a whole table of food. You and your brother can't eat leftovers, but Dad can. You agree, right, Mom?" I said these words calmly, but my heart was sneering. Since they love eating food cooked with pesticide-tainted oil bottles so much, I'll just leave more for them to eat. After they left, I washed the dishes and then repeatedly washed my hands several times with soap. After washing up, I returned to my room to continue with my exercises. In my previous life, I didn't even take the high school entrance exam. This time, I must study hard and get into a good high school. Time flew by as I was immersed in my exercises, and I didn't know when they returned. It was only when I was sleeping that I suddenly heard sounds coming from the living room. I heard my dad anxiously call out, "Fiona, what's wrong? Don't scare me." I came out of my room and saw my dad holding my mom, who was dry heaving and convulsing uncontrollably. My dad kept calling my mom's name. Seeing me standing still, he yelled at me, "Tiffany, what are you staring at? Go get help. Do you want to watch your mom and your brother get hurt?" I mumbled "oh" and slowly walked out the door to call for help, but by this time, everyone in the village was already asleep. I went inside and told my dad I couldn't find anyone. My dad glared at me, his eyes as if he wanted to kill me, and I just lowered my head and said nothing. Finally, my dad had to take my mom to the hospital on his electric scooter. It took a lot of effort to get my mom's round body onto the scooter. Before leaving, she also told me to quickly pack up my mom's things and take them to the hospital. The hospital is more than 10 kilometers from my home. Is she telling me to walk there? How ridiculous. However, I still packed up my mom's things. I hadn't even left the house when my dad came back again. He grabbed me by the collar and asked, "The doctor said they found pesticide in your mom's system. How did that get in the house?" I flinched, then pointed to the bottle of oil in the kitchen. When my dad saw the bottle, his face suddenly turned pale with fright. Under my dad's nervous gaze, I calmly said, "Mom said this bottle is perfect for oil. Dad, is there a problem?" My dad's face turned ashen, and he took me to the hospital again. Before we even reached the emergency room, I heard my mom's voice, "Doctor, I'm carrying a son. You have to save my son." I saw my mom excitedly tugging at the Doctor's white coat. After the examination, it was discovered that my mother had pesticides in her body. The doctor advised her to have a C-section early because the pesticide was highly toxic, and even with gastric lavage, it would definitely affect the baby in her womb. However, my mother kept saying that the baby wasn't full term yet and absolutely couldn't be delivered early by C-section. She even pointed at me and said that I was the premature one, who not only cost them a lot of money but also grew up frail and weak. But I want to say, I was thin because I never had enough to eat since childhood. That's why I was like that. What does it have to do with being premature? In the end, the doctor, with no other choice, arranged for my mother to have gastric lavage first, but after the lavage, the doctor's advice was still to have a C-section to avoid affecting the baby in her belly, but my mom absolutely refused to sign, and doctors would never perform a C-section against the family's wishes, so the baby was still in my mom's belly, and she was admitted to the hospital. I wandered around outside for a bit, and when I returned to the ward, they were arguing. Fiona, are you crazy? That's the bottle I put pesticide in this afternoon. Do you have any brains to actually use it for rapeseed oil? I washed it clean. I thought it would be fine. Speaking so loudly will scare our son. I saw my mom touching her bulging belly, her face full of grievance. Seeing this, my dad stopped talking, then the two of them started whispering. Again, it turned out they planned to go to the village's eccentric shaman to ask for some holy water. There really was such a shaman in our village. Last time, when an uncle in the village went mad, she concocted some so-called holy water, and then that uncle miraculously recovered. After they discussed for a long time, Dad stood up to leave and told me to stay and take care of Mom. Mom, I have school tomorrow. You should let Dad take care of you. What school? Take a leave of absence. Is your crappy school more important than your brother? My dad also chimed in with my mom, saying, Tiffany, you stay and take care of your mom. I have important things to do back home, and I have to work tomorrow. If I don't make money, what will you two eat and drink? Then he left, leaving just my mom and me in this 3-person hospital room. In the latter half of the night, I was sleeping soundly in a chair nearby when my mom woke me up, telling me to call the doctor because she felt nauseous and uncomfortable. After the doctor arrived, they suggested an immediate C-section, but my mother clutched the bed rails, refusing to go to the operating room, insisting on waiting for my father. I knew my mother was waiting for the divine water from that shaman. Ms. Fiona, although you didn't directly ingest pesticide, consuming oil mixed with pesticide is still very dangerous. If you don't listen to our advice, and something happens to your child, our hospital will not be responsible. My son will be fine. I've washed the oil bottle clean. Nothing will happen. Don't try to scare me. You're just trying to make money off me. I'm telling you, he's not full term yet. I won't let my son come out. Staying inside for one more day is definitely better than being outside. After my mom yelled the doctor out, I ran out and called him back. I told them either let my mom sign a liability waiver so that if anything happens later, it has nothing to do with the hospital. I watched the doctor stare at me in surprise. When the doctor came in with the waiver, my mom was too emotional to sign it. I held her hand. Mom, I'm telling you, once you sign this, the doctor won't make you have a C-section, and your brother can stay safely in your belly for longer. Didn't you say it's better to stay in the belly than outside? Look at me. I was premature, and it cost you a lot of money, didn't it? Mom, sign it. If you sign it, your brother won't be premature, and you can save a lot of money. My mom only heard that if she signed this document, they wouldn't keep pushing for a C-section, so she quickly picked up the pen and signed. The morning after signing, my mom called my dad to ask if the magic water had arrived, but my dad's phone was unreachable. My mom called our neighbor, Aunt Wendy, again a little while later. When the neighbor called my mom back, she shouted into the phone, It's bad, Fiona, it's bad. Your David has fainted and is foaming at the mouth. My dad was rushed to the hospital for emergency treatment. At one point, the doctor came out and dropped a bombshell. He can be saved, but multiple organs have failed, and he might be paralyzed afterward. Upon hearing this, my mom's body suddenly went limp. She then stared at the operating room for a long time before suddenly rushing into the emergency room. Mom rushed into the emergency room and started pulling at my dad, who is lying on the operating table. Where's the holy water? Did you bring it? Where is it? Hidden. When the doctors and nurses rushed in, my mom was still searching my dad, but she didn't find anything on him. Ms. Fiona, your husband is still in critical condition. Please leave. But my mother couldn't find the magic water, and she went crazy. Finally, she was given a sedative and taken back to her room. After the nurse settled my mother, she patted my shoulder and asked, Little sister, do you have any other relatives at home, even distant ones? Otherwise, how can you take care of Two people by yourself, obstetrics and gastroenterology are not on the same floor. I looked at my mother, who had just been given a sedative and was now lying asleep in the hospital room, and shook my head at the nurse. I'm the only one in the family. All those aunts and uncles, my parents had already fallen out with them at my grandparents' funerals. At the time, my parents, in order to save money for their unborn son's future living expenses, not only skimped on some of the costs for my grandmother's funeral. What's even worse, they even wanted to skip the funeral altogether, taking her directly to the crematorium for cremation and burial. Because of this, those relatives and my parents had an exceptionally fierce argument. After the funeral, my parents took me home, and from then on, they cut off all contact with those relatives. Now, if they knew my mom ended up this way because she brought it upon herself, I bet they'd all burst out laughing. I went to see my dad. He was lying there, pale and lifeless. I remembered the delicious food and wine from that night. My dad ate a lot, perhaps, as the doctor said. He was strong, and the toxins took longer to take effect. The next day, my mom woke up, grabbed my arm, and asked, "Is your dad awake? Where's my magic water? Where's my son's magic water?" Seeing my silence, she started scolding me again. "You good for nothing. The pesticide bottle has such strong toxins, and you didn't even say anything. Are you deliberately trying to harm my son? I paid for you to read so many books. Why didn't you say anything? You jinx, you spendthrift. If anything happens to my son, I will never let you off." At noon, when the nurse came to collect my dad's hospital fees, my mom remembered the compensation from my grandparents again. "Tiffany, quickly take the compensation from those two old geezers and pay the hospital fees." "Mom, where would I get the money? All of Grandpa and Grandma's compensation went to my tuition. You and Dad haven't given me any money for so many years. So where would I have any money?" As soon as I said that, the aunt in the same ward looked at my mother several times, probably afraid that her excessive actions would be known. My mother glared at me, took the money, and told me to pay the hospitalization fee. I sneered a few times in my heart, holding the money. She and my dad had been coveting that money for a long time. They had already ransacked the room, but there was no way I was going to give them that money when I returned to the ward. After paying the hospital fees, my mom said she wanted to be discharged and go home to look for where my dad had put the miracle water, but just as my mom was preparing to be discharged and go home, the nurse ran over to tell me that my dad had woken up and was repeatedly muttering the words "miracle water." As soon as my mom heard this, she didn't even bother to put on her shoes, dragging her plump body as she quickly ran towards my dad's ward. I saw my dad, trembling, take a small bottle from a crumpled bag nearby and stuff it into my mom's arms, saying, "Wife, drink this quickly. The shaman said if you drink it, our son will be fine." My mom didn't even think twice, quickly opened the small bottle, and gulped it all down. After drinking it, my mom and dad hugged each other and smiled happily. I stood at the door of the ward and let out a cold snort. The day my dad regained consciousness, my mom told him to leave the hospital, saying that the hospital fees were too expensive and she needed to save the money for the son in her belly. My dad listened to my mom and also strongly insisted on being discharged. I happily helped them pack their things. Once they were discharged, I could go to school, and I couldn't be happier. As we left, several nurses behind us were chattering amongst themselves. How can there be such strange people in the world who would give up their lives for their son? Whether that child will survive is still unknown. Director Young said they needed AC section, but they insisted the baby wasn't full term and refused, wanting the child to stay in the womb for a few more days, but that was pesticide. I estimate that even if they washed his stomach, the toxins have already entered his internal organs. This little sister is so pitiful. How could she have such parents? I held their belongings, thinking they would wait for me to take a taxi home together. However, by the time I had packed everything and gotten the medicine, they had already left me at the hospital and gone. When I returned home again, I saw my dad, pale-faced, cooking for my mom. When she saw me, my mom threw a grape at me and said, "You brat, what took you so long?" I watched the dark grape roll past my feet. I stared at it for a moment, then picked it up, suddenly walked a few steps forward, forced the grape into my mom's mouth, and calmly said, "Mom, you spend a lot of money on this hospital stay. It's such good grapes, it would be a shame to throw them away. Don't waste them." My mom was so angry she wanted to spit out the grape and hit me, but I was quicker. I took the large plate of grapes from her hand, ate a few in front of her, and said with a smile, "So sweet." My mom was furious. She picked up the small stool from the floor and threw it at me. I dodged, and the stool hit the ground. "Mom, mind the prenatal education, or your son will be born with a bad temper, and you'll have a tough time later." After saying that, I took the plate of grapes into my room and locked the door. Outside the door, my mom was calling my dad's name, telling him to come and beat me. They tried to open the door, but because I had locked it, they couldn't. I stared at the plate of grapes, eating them carefully, but the sweetness filling my mouth still made me smile. I hadn't eaten them since my grandparents passed away. As I opened my workbook to start my exercises, my mom was throwing another tantrum outside the door. The consequence of snatching that plate of grapes was that they didn't call me for dinner that night. If you don't eat, you don't eat. Anyway, I'm full from that plate of grapes. Tomorrow is the mock exam, and I still need to focus on reviewing. In my previous life, I couldn't take the high school entrance exam. In this life, I'm going to work hard to get good grades. The next day, when I went to school, I applied to live in the dormitory. My homeroom teacher knew about my family situation, so when I suggested living at school, she quickly helped me apply. She patted my shoulder and told me to come to her if I needed anything. She looked at me as if she wanted to say something but held back. I knew what she wanted to say, but I just told her that nothing would affect my studies now. For more than a week after that, I lived at school, and my parents didn't contact me. I studied late into the night every day and woke up early in the morning, with no time to think about anything else. I had originally thought I could continue like this, quietly, until my high school entrance exams were over, as my mom's due date was still over a month away. However, 20 days before my high school entrance exams, my mom was hospitalized. Apparently, her water suddenly broke, and due to her excessive weight and the baby being in an abnormal position, a natural birth was difficult, so she had to have a C-section. That night, she gave birth to a son via C-section, a big, chubby boy weighing 8 pounds. However, the baby had one leg shorter than the other and a crooked mouth. My mother held the baby, crying and making a scene, accusing the doctor of incompetence, saying that all prenatal checkups were normal, so how could she have given birth to a disabled child? My dad hit the doctor, yelling at him about whether he had tampered with his son, and the scene was chaotic. Even the hospital security couldn't restrain my dad, so the hospital had to call the police. The police took my dad away, and only then did the farce come to an end. By the time I arrived at the hospital, my mom was throwing a tantrum at the nurse's station, sitting on the floor, holding her disabled son in her arms. She kept on cursing, "It's all you quacks' fault for doing this to my son. You need to compensate him. I'm telling you, if you don't cure my son, I'll sue you and shut down your hospital." My mom kept crying and cursing. Suddenly, when she saw me in the crowd, my mom abruptly stood up and rushed over, holding her precious son with one arm and grabbing my hair with the other. "Tiffany, where did you run off to just now? Go scold these people. Look at your brother. It's all their fault." I pulled my hand away from my mom's, took a step back, and pointed at her, scolding, "Mom, don't be too much. You ate something with pesticides. The doctor told you to have a C-section early, but you didn't listen, and now you're blaming them for what? Besides, didn't you drink the shaman's holy water? How come my brother is still like this?" I said calmly, but my mom was furious. "Tiffany, what nonsense are you spouting? What holy water? It's the doctors at this hospital who made my son like this. They have to compensate for the damages." My mom caused such a scene that the hospital didn't know what to do. Finally, security came, but she still sat on the floor, refusing to get up. The director directly showed her the waiver my mom had signed at the time. Although my mom isn't highly educated, she can still read, and I calmly said next to her, "Mom, this is in black and white. You signed it yourself. Even if you make a fuss or sue, they won't acknowledge it." My mom got even angrier. I grabbed her wrist and whispered in her ear, "Mom, since you signed this, we definitely can't go through normal channels, but I think you could make a video. In this day and age, everyone loves watching videos. If you cry and complain in a live stream, you might even gain followers and get some unexpected money." My mom stared at me suspiciously, while I suppressed the urge to smile. This was quite the big gift I was giving my mom later. I said I had something else to do and left. My mom actually wanted to stop me from leaving, but her eldest son in her arms kept crying incessantly. That night, I found out my mom had registered an account and started a live stream from the hospital ward, crying hysterically while holding her eldest son. I knew she would do that. After all, she both doted on her son and was greedy for money. I saw people in the live stream defending my mom, and because of that, she attracted a large number of followers by playing the victim. Many people sent her gifts, saying they wanted to help her son. My mom cried and complained, while also blaming the hospital. Within just a few days, her followers exceeded 100,000. She tasted success and became even more reckless. After 3 days in the hospital, my mom was discharged. Although my dad hit someone, the hospital, perhaps out of pity, did not pursue charges against him for the assault. So after my mom signed the papers at The police station. My dad also came back. After my mom came home, my dad went to see the village shaman again. The shaman said that my brother would return to normal once he reached 1 month old, and that he just hadn't opened up yet. Then, they fed the newborn brother a bottle of so-called divine water. Both of them were deeply immersed in the shaman's lies, unable to extricate themselves. After my mom tasted the sweetness of live streaming, she even encouraged my dad to quit his job and join her in live streaming. I used a school computer to post a short video on a certain platform, showing my mom drinking holy water in the hospital. Immediately, the internet exploded. Of course, the even more explosive news was yet to come. The hospital released my mom's signed disclaimer on its official website, along with medical proof that my mom had her stomach pumped due to pesticide ingestion some time ago, and even released a video of doctors and nurses persuading my mom to have a C-section early. Coupled with the video I posted of drinking the divine water, netizens instantly erupted. Meanwhile, my mother was immersed in the joy of earning money from live streaming, completely unaware that the entire internet was criticizing her at that moment. That evening, during my mother's live stream, netizens flocked to the live room to condemn her actions. For a while, they had firmly believed that my brother's disability was caused by medical negligence and had supported my mother in seeking justice. Now, with the release of this video, everyone's attitude immediately shifted. The live stream's bullet comments were furiously cursing my mother. "Oh my god, how can such a person exist? Does the streamer have no brain? Using a pesticide bottle to hold oil. Her child's disability is what she deserves. The hospital told you to have a C-section, but you refused, and now you're blaming them. You even signed a waiver, and you're still accusing the hospital. How disgusting." It's absolutely disgusting. Drinking some miracle water. Does she have any brains? Streamer, give us back the money we tipped you. My mom saw that something was wrong and quickly closed the live stream in a fright. Then, she and my dad cursed the netizens for being no good, and cursed me for being no good, all while in their room listening to their curses. I locked the door. Tomorrow, I'm going back to school to focus on my exams. Let them handle their own affairs. The next morning, as I was preparing to leave for school, my mom stood at the doorway, holding her son, blocking my way. She asked, "Tiffany, did you post that video? Did you tamper with it?" I sneered inwardly. They weren't completely stupid, Mom. At this point, what could I possibly tamper with? All I did was reveal the truth to the public. My mom heard this and suddenly rushed over to hit me, yelling, "Tiffany, I knew it was you, you little bitch. Who did this? We're your parents. Are you doing this because you can't stand to see us make money?" "Mom, how can you say that? You make money, but you don't spend it on me. My tuition was left to me by my grandparents. I haven't eaten a single meal at home for years. You haven't raised me all these years, so what does your money have to do with me? Besides, I just told the truth. What did I do wrong?" As my mom was about to hit me again, her eldest son in her arms started crying. I looked at his crooked face, smiled, and then left the house. This incident brought about a significant change. Some netizens went to the hospital to understand the situation, and after learning that my mother had indeed given birth to a disabled child because she wouldn't listen to advice, they all stopped sympathizing with her. Other netizens even came to our village to inquire, and those relatives who had been scolded by my parents now stood against them, accusing my parents of being inhumane and saying they were crazy, neglecting their own daughter just to have a son with this irrefutable evidence. My parents were subjected to widespread condemnation online. The account with over 100,000 followers was also banned, and all the funds were frozen and could not be withdrawn, and I was buried in my writing in the classroom. In the high school entrance exam a little over 10 days later, I was going to show off my brilliant life, and thanks to the netizens' reprimands, my parents quieted down for a few days, and I successfully took the high school entrance exam. After the high school entrance exam, I went home for a visit. They took my household registration book. Ever since I was born, they had transferred my household registration to my grandparents' names, and my father, in order to marry my mother back then, also transferred his household registration from his parents' names to my mother's family. I finished packing my luggage and saw my parents' half-open bedroom door. Seeing them playing with their beloved son, I smiled helplessly. I moved into my grandparents' old house, although it was simple. I felt it was my true home. The day after I moved into the old house, Aunt Wendy next door called me to say that the court had seized our home. My parents, for their precious son, had spent a huge amount of money buying holy water from a shaman and had taken out many online loans. Now their live streaming account was blocked, and they were being cursed by the entire internet. My father also lost his job, but their precious son remained the same after a month, occasionally having seizures and vomiting after a hospital checkup. The 1-month-old baby's organs were already showing signs of failure. My parents sought medical help everywhere for their beloved son, accumulating massive debts. When they couldn't repay their online loans, the bank foreclosed on our family home. When Aunt Wendy, our neighbor, told me all this, I showed no reaction. Reborn into this life. All of this is their just retribution. At the same time, my junior high school exam results were announced. I achieved high scores, and to get away from them, I applied to a more distant key high school. Years later, I heard that my father was in a car accident and became disabled, and my mother's beloved son, whom she doted on, also became increasingly disabled, but none of that had anything to do with me. They actually contacted me once, but my mom immediately started yelling at me and asking for money. Fixated on the compensation my grandparents received, after I yelled back at her, she kept harassing me, calling my phone. Later, I changed my phone number, cutting off all contact. They never treated me as a daughter, and I won't treat them as parents. I won't concern myself with their future, but my life is just beginning. I need to look forward and strive to live my life well. After hearing the second story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. The excruciating pain tore me from unconsciousness. I opened my eyes to the familiar hospital ceiling, white, with a water stain that looked like a butterfly with outstretched wings. The scene was all too familiar to me. It was the emergency room of a university-affiliated hospital 3 years ago, or more precisely, 3 years ago in my previous life. I was hospitalized here for a gastric hemorrhage. Wait, last life. Memories flooded back like a tide. I remember clearly. In my last life, I lived to be 28, watched Leo marry his 5th Jenny, saw him cry at the wedding, saying I was the one he loved, and then that crazy woman rushed over and threw sulfuric acid on me. I died on the way to the hospital, and now, I'm back to 21, back to the beginning of all tragedies. You're awake. The nurse walked in. Where's your boyfriend? Such severe stomach bleeding, and he's not even here. I glanced at the clock on the wall. September 15th, 2019, 9 p.m. If I remember correctly, Leo is currently at a bar with Lisa, an art student he just met. In his arms, that girl had plastic surgery to look like Jenny, and Leo would keep her like a pet for 3 months, then move on to the next one. He's busy, I heard myself say. The nurse pouted. What kind of boyfriend is that? Better not to have one. Yeah, it's better not to have it. It took me 7 years in my last life to understand this, and in this life, I won't make the same mistake again. My phone vibrated on the nightstand. I picked it up and saw a message from Leo sent 2 hours ago. Busy, will come see you later. I sneered. In my last life, he didn't show up until noon the next day, reeking of alcohol and women's perfume, perfunctorily asking, "Are you feeling better?" before leaving again, and at that time, I foolishly thought he was genuinely busy. Delete chat, block. After doing all that, I suddenly felt a sense of relief. Nancy, the door opened, and a familiar voice sounded. I looked up and saw Lucas. He was still as I remembered him, just younger. He was wearing a basketball uniform, his forehead covered in sweat, and he was carrying an insulated lunchbox. How did you know I was here? I asked, feigning ignorance. It was the same in my previous life. Lucas was the first person to visit me. He said he saw my name while passing by, but later I learned he came specifically for me, because he had been quietly watching over me. I saw your name as I was passing by. He seemed a little flustered. I brought you some porridge from the hospital cafeteria. You should have liquid since you have a stomach bleed. I took the insulated container. The temperature was just right. It was millet porridge, very well cooked, with a layer of rice oil floating on top. Thank you. You're welcome. He sat on the chair by the bed. Where's Leo? We broke up, I said calmly. Lucas was stunned. What? I said. Leo and I broke up. I took a sip of porridge. To be precise, I dumped him. In my previous life, I only broke up with him 3 days later, by which time Leo had already hooked up with Lisa, and I still had to pretend not to know. This time, I didn't want to waste any more time. Why? Lucas asked, his eyes betraying an undeniable joy. Because I don't love you anymore. I put down my spoon and looked at him seriously. Lucas, you like me, don't you? He shut up, knocking over his chair. You, how could you? I could tell. I smiled. Your eyes don't lie. It took me 5 years in my last life to realize Lucas loved me. By then, he had already lost a leg saving me, while I was still making excuses for Leo's philandering. Lucas's face flushed. The 185-meter-tall boy looked like a primary school student who had done something wrong. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I know you're Leo's girlfriend. I didn't want to break you two up. Lucas, I interrupted him. I told you, Leo and I broke up. But, no buts. I held out my hand. Give me your phone. He handed it over blankly. I typed in my number and saved it with the note. Future girlfriend, Nancy. He looked at the phone screen in disbelief. Pursue me, Lucas, I said seriously. Pursue me openly and honestly. The next day at noon, Leo finally appeared, just like in my previous life. When he pushed open the hospital room door, he reeked of alcohol. His shirt was wrinkled, and there was a lipstick stain on his collar. Nancy, what do you mean? He demanded aggressively. Why did you block me? I was reading a book, one Lucas had brought that morning, saying it was his favorite novel. I didn't even look up. Literally, we're breaking up. Break up. Leo sneered. Nancy, stop messing around. I'm not messing around. I closed my book. Leo, we're over. Just because I didn't come to see you last night. He walked to the bed and looked down at me. Nancy, can you stop being so childish? It's not because of that. I took out my phone and pulled up a photo. It's because of this. In the photo, he was kissing Lisa in a bar booth. Lisa sent this to me in my last life to show off this life. I had someone take the picture in advance. Leo's face changed. Are you stalking me? No, someone sent it to me. I put away my phone. Leo, you cheated. That doesn't count for anything. He got anxious. It's normal for men to fool around outside. Oh, normal. I nodded. Then I can normally dump you too. Nancy, he grabbed my wrist, his grip surprisingly strong. You wouldn't dare. The door suddenly burst open, and Lucas rushed in, punching Leo in the face. Leo stumbled back a few steps, hitting the wall. Lucas, what the hell is wrong with you? Let her go. Lucas stood in front of me. Leo, try touching her again. What's it to you? Leo wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. This is between me and my girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, Lucas corrected coldly, and from today on, Nancy's business is my business. Leo froze for a few seconds, then showed an incredulous expression. You too? Yes, you're right, I said, sitting up in bed. Lucas and I are together now. We weren't actually together yet, but it felt good to annoy the scumbag, bitch. Leo lunged at me, trying to hit me. Lucas grabbed his fist, twisted his arm, and pinned him against the wall. Leo, you should be grateful this is a hospital, otherwise I'd make sure you ended up in a hospital bed too. Lucas, we've known each other for 15 years. Leo struggled. You're betraying me for a woman. Betrayal. Lucas sneered. Leo, you betrayed Nancy first. What do you take her for? Jenny's stand-in. Leo's body stiffened. You think I don't know? Lucas released him. Every girlfriend you've ever dated looks like Jenny. Nancy was the only exception. Do you know why? Because Nancy's family gave your family a big project. I interjected. Leo, I'm just a tool for you to gain benefits, nothing more. This was the truth I only learned later in my previous life. The Green family's company was on the verge of bankruptcy, and my dad used his connections to secure a big project for them, on the condition that Leo would date me. Leo's face turned pale. You know everything. I know everything, I sneered, including the 500,000 your mom took from my dad. Enough, Leo snapped, enraged. Nancy, without me, you're nothing at a university. Then we'll see about that. Leo slammed the door and left. Lucas looked at me worriedly. Are you okay? Does your wrist hurt? I looked at his nervous expression, and my heart warmed. In my previous life, he was the same, always putting me first. Lucas, let's really be together. What? He was stunned. I'm serious. I took his hand. Give me a chance, and give yourself a chance too. The day I was discharged from the hospital, Lisa came. She wore exquisite makeup, a limited edition Chanel outfit, and carried a new Hermes bag. She had boasted to me in my previous life that Leo had given her all of these. Senior, she smiled sweetly. I heard you and Leo broke up. That's right, I said, packing my things. Congratulations on becoming official. She paused, probably not expecting me to be so direct. You're so generous, Senior. She took a step closer, but Leo said you're just throwing a tantrum, and he'll still coax you back. Is that so? I stopped what I was doing. Lisa, do you know why you're able to get close to Leo? Because Leo likes me? No. I took out my phone and pulled up a photo. Because you look like this person. The photo was of Jenny, pure and captivating, with an ethereal aura. Lisa's expression changed. Who is this? Jenny, Leo's first love. I put my phone away. Don't you think you two look very similar? Or rather, when you had plastic surgery, did you use her photo? You're lying. Lisa shrieked. I pulled a document from my bag. B City Beauty Hospital's surgical records. MS. Lisa, a full facial adjustment done 3 months ago, costing 450,000. Shall I read the chief surgeon's notes? Client requested plastic surgery according to provided photos. Similarity requirement 90% or more. I had someone look this up yesterday. In my last life, I was too foolish, completely manipulated by her. In this life, I want everyone to see the truth. Lisa's hands were trembling. You investigated me. You were the one who provoked me first. I picked up my bag. Oh, and a friendly reminder, Leo has already found his next one, Julia from the dance department. Also styled to look like Jenny. Your shelf life is probably about another month. Impossible, don't believe me. I pointed out the window. Look, isn't that Leo's car? In the parking lot downstairs, next to Leo's Maserati. He was helping a long-haired girl into the car. Even from a distance, you could tell the girl bore a 7/10 resemblance to Jenny. Lisa rushed out. Lucas walked in. Is it all true? Of course. I curled my lips. Leo is that kind of person, always looking for a substitute. Then you before, I was blind before. I admitted frankly, but I'm better now. In my last life, I found out these truths too late. Leo not only cheated but also kept 7 or 8 Jennies outside. When it all came out, Lisa threw paint on me, Julia smashed my windows, and those women, fighting for his favor, made me their common enemy. This time, I'm going to let them tear each other apart. That night, a university's forum exploded. Shocking, school heartthrob Leo actually has this fetish. The post meticulously listed all the girls Leo had dated in the past 2 years, each accompanied by photo comparisons. All of them resembled Jenny. 1. Lisa, freshman in the art department, $450,000 for plastic surgery, 90% resemblance. 2. Julia, sophomore in the dance department, $380,000 for plastic surgery, 85% resemblance. 3. Bella, a junior in the foreign language department, natural beauty, 75% similarity. And there's more. The post was anonymous, but I knew who it was. Lisa. She was provoked and wanted to drag everyone down with her. Sure enough, the comment section exploded. Damn, what kind of twisted humor is this? Leo, feel bad for Nancy, being a stand-in for 2 years. Who exactly is Jenny? What's so charming about her? Soon, someone dug up Jenny's identity. The legendary senior from a university, who ranked first every year, is now pursuing her master's at Harvard. Most importantly, she was Leo's high school crush, and it said that Leo pursued her for 3 years without success. The forum's sentiment immediately shifted. So Nancy was a stand-in too. Poor Leo, so deeply in love. Is this the ultimate level of a simp? I scrolled through the comments, unmoved. In my previous life, these words had deeply hurt me, but now I know that time will prove everything. Lucas sat beside me, not angry. Why should I be angry? I closed my laptop. By the way, do me a favor. What favor? Help me hack into Leo's email. Lucas was a genius in the computer science department. This small task would be effortless for him. What are you going to do? You'll find out soon enough. Late that night, the forum exploded again. Someone posted emails from Leo's inbox, flirtatious emails between him and multiple girls, the most explosive of which was evidence that he was simultaneously two-timing 3 girls. Even more terrifying, the emails also contained his evaluations of these girls. Lisa, good skills, but demands too much. Julia, best figure, but not very smart. Bella, most like Jenny, but too dramatic. The forum completely exploded. Those girls went crazy and started tearing into each other on the forum. Lisa, you homewrecker. Julia, you're the homewrecker. You're both sluts. I turned off my computer and went to sleep, feeling pleased. Dog eat dog, all fur and teeth. A week later, the real honor returned. Jenny ended her exchange early and came back to a university. I saw this legendary woman for the first time in the library. She was indeed beautiful, with a hint of nobility in her purity, and an outstanding temperament. No wonder Leo couldn't forget her. No wonder so many girls wanted to get plastic surgery to look like her. Are you Nancy? She asked, walking over to me. Yes, let's talk. In the cafe, Jenny elegantly stirred her coffee. I heard you and Leo broke up. Yes, because of me. Not entirely. I took a sip of coffee, mainly because he's such a jerk. Jenny paused, then smiled. You're very direct. I like that. What did you need me for? Senior, I need your help with something. She put down her spoon. Help me get rid of Leo. I raised an eyebrow. You don't like him? Never have. Jenny frowned. He's so annoying. He's been pestering me since high school. I went to Harvard to get away from him, but I didn't expect him to get even worse and find so many stand-ins. Then why don't you just reject him directly? I've refused countless times, but he doesn't listen, Jenny said helplessly, and our 2 families have business dealings, so my dad won't let me break ties. I see. In her previous life, Jenny eventually married a diplomat and completely lost contact with Leo, but that was 5 years later. I can help you, I said, but I have a condition. Name it. Publicly clarify that you never liked Leo, and that his feelings were unrequited. Jenny thought for a moment. Okay, then, a pleasant collaboration. As we shook hands, I silently thought to myself, this time, I'm going to let Leo know what it feels like to reap what you sow. Are you sure you want to do this? Lucas looked at me worriedly. I'm sure. I checked the recording. device on my phone, someone like Leo. If you don't teach him a lesson, he'll never give up. As planned, I arranged to meet Leo on the hill behind the school. It was secluded, suitable for negotiations. Leo arrived quickly. It was clear he hadn't been doing well lately. There were dark circles under his eyes. "Nancy, have you finally come to your senses?" He showed a joyful expression. "Leo, let's talk terms." I got straight to the point. "What terms?" "You publicly apologize, admit to cheating, and then we break up peacefully." "Dream on." Leo's face darkened. "Nancy, who do you think you are?" "I'm the one who knows all your secrets." I pulled out a USB drive. "This contains even more about you, including evidence of you bribing people for the student council election." This was true. In my previous life, Leo had bribed many people to become student council president. Although he ultimately got the position through his family's connections, these dark secrets were enough to ruin his reputation. Leo's expression changed. "Are you threatening me?" "No, I'm giving you a chance." I took a step back. "Leo, it's better for everyone if you act with some dignity." "Nancy," he suddenly leaned in, "have you forgotten that your dad's company still relies on my family's project? That project is already finished, and the money has been settled." I had already checked. "Leo, you have no leverage left." He became enraged and shoved me. I lost my footing and fell backward. The anticipated pain didn't come. Lucas caught me in time. "Are you okay?" He checked anxiously. "I'm fine." I shook my phone. "It's all recorded." Only then did Leo realize he'd been tricked. "You set me up. You started it," Lucas said coldly. "Leo, you're finished." Just then, Jenny appeared with a group of people, all campus media reporters. "Senior Leo pushed someone. Isn't this an act of violence? Should we report it to the school?" Leo completely panicked. "Jenny, what are you doing here?" Jenny looked at him coldly. "Leo, I came to tell you something." "What is it?" Hope flickered in Leo's eyes. "I have never liked you, not before, not now, and certainly not in the future," Jenny said, word for word. "Your pursuit of me is nothing but harassment, and those stand-ins disgust me. Please, don't bother me again." After speaking, she looked at the reporters. "Did you all record that? Go ahead and publish it." Leo was struck by lightning. His entire body frozen. "No, impossible," he murmured. "Jenny, I was so good to you." "Good," Jenny sneered. "Sleeping with a bunch of women who look like me. You call that good to me? Leo, you make me sick." The video quickly spread across the internet. Hashtag Leo pushes someone. Hashtag Jenny publicly rejects Leo. Hashtag a university heartthrob's image crumbles. Hashtag Leo became the laughingstock of the entire school. But the Green family wouldn't just give up like that. The next day, Leo's mother, Rose, came knocking. The well-preserved noblewoman had a cold look in her eyes. $5 million. She got straight to the point. "Leave a university and never appear before Leo again." "Aunt Rose," I smiled. "The video of your son pushing someone has been seen by everyone online." "So what?" Rose sneered. "Little girl, do you think you're something special just because Lucas is backing you?" "No, I rely on myself." I took out my phone. "Aunt Rose, would you like to see this?" On the screen was a recording of Rose's conversation with my dad, where she took $500,000 from him to get Leo and me together. Rose's face changed. "You recorded it. Better safe than sorry." I put away my phone. "Aunt Rose, $5 million is too little. I want $10 million. You're dreaming." "Then I'll send out the recording," I said, pretending to send it. "Let everyone know how the Green family does business." "You wouldn't dare." "You'll see if I dare." Rose trembled with anger, but finally compromised. $10 million is fine, but you have to sign an agreement that you'll never speak of this matter. Deal. After signing the agreement and getting the check, I was in a good mood. In my previous life, the Green family used this $500,000 to humiliate me for 7 years. In this life, I'm going to make them pay. "What are you going to do with the money?" Lucas asked. "Invest." I winked. "Invest in our future." Lucas blushed. "What our future?" "Lucas," I said seriously, "I've been reborn. I have a premonition that the Green family's company won't last 3 years. By then, this $10 million will turn into $100 million. "How do you know?" Of course, I knew, because in my previous life, the Green family went bankrupt 3 years later. Leo's father's investments failed. He accumulated a mountain of debt, and eventually jumped off a building. A woman's intuition. I smiled mysteriously. Trouble always follows. My parents found out Leo and I broke up and came over in a rage. "Nancy, are you crazy?" My mom immediately started scolding me. "Don't you know how rich the Green family is?" "I know," I said calmly, "but that's Green family money, not mine. Won't it be yours once you marry into the family?" My dad glared at me. "Are you out of your mind?" "Dad, Mom," I looked at them. "You sold me to the Green family for $500,000. Is that enough?" Their faces changed dramatically. How did you know?" "Leo told me himself," I sneered. "So in your eyes, I'm only worth $500,000. That's different." My mom got anxious. We're doing this for your own good. The Green family is so well off, for my own good. I stood up. For my own good. You'd sell me off. For my own good. You'd make me a stand-in for someone who doesn't love me. What stand-in or not stand-in? My dad said impatiently. Marrying into a wealthy family is what truly matters. Then you'd better find someone else. I pulled out a document. This is a statement of severance of parent-child relationship. Sign it. How dare you? My mom shrieked. What do I have to be afraid of? I looked at them coldly. Anyway, in your hearts, a son is a treasure, and a daughter is just goods that can be sold for money. Yes, I also have a younger brother, a brother they spoiled rotten. In my previous life, after I married Leo, they constantly asked me for money to spend on my brother. Finally, my brother was arrested for drug use, and they even wanted me to beg Leo to get him out. Nancy, you can't be so heartless. My mother started crying. We raised you all these years. Raised me. I pulled out a notebook. These are my work records since I was 16, my tuition, my living expenses. I earned them all myself. You raised me. You raised your son. They were both speechless. Sign it. I handed them the pen. From now on, we go our separate ways. Finally, they signed the documents witnessed by the lawyer Lucas found. As they left, my dad said fiercely, Nancy, you'll regret this. I won't regret it. What I regretted in my previous life was not seeing their true colors sooner. After cutting ties, I moved out of the dorm and rented an apartment with the money Rose gave me. Lucas helped me move, and as he moved, he said, you could actually live at my place. Lucas, we just got together. I reminded him, I know, I didn't mean it like that. He quickly explained, I meant, I have another empty apartment near the school. I know what you mean. I smiled, but I want my own space. In my last life, I relied too much on others. In this life, I want to learn to be independent first. Then, can I come to see you often? Of course. After we finished moving, he cooked a table full of dishes for me. His cooking was surprisingly good. You can cook? I asked, surprised. Since I was little, he said, scratching his head sheepishly. My parents were busy with work, so I always cooked for myself. Lucas's parents were both corporate executives, so they were indeed very busy, but in my previous life, I knew they were very good to their son, just not good at expressing it, unlike my parents, who only knew how to take. I'll cook for you every day from now on, he said. Will it be too much trouble? No trouble at all. He looked at me earnestly. Nancy, it's my honor to do things for you. My heart suddenly softened. In my previous life, Lucas said the same thing. He was already in a wheelchair then, but he still insisted on cooking for me every day. Lucas, promise me one thing. What is it? No matter what happens, protect yourself. I held his hand. Don't get hurt for me. He paused. Why are you suddenly saying this? Because in my last life, you lost a leg saving me. I said in my heart, it's just a premonition. I vaguely brushed it off. Anyway, promise me. Okay, he squeezed my hand. I promise you. Lisa suddenly returned after disappearing for a week. She came straight to me, looking disheveled, with a slap mark on her face. Nancy, let's work together. Work together on what? To ruin Leo. Her eyes were full of hatred. He lied to me. He said I was special, but it turns out I was just a stand-in. You're just realizing that now. She gritted her teeth. He dumped me. He said I was too pretentious, that I didn't have Jenny's temperament. I knew this would happen. In my last life, Lisa also turned dark after being dumped. She did many crazy things and eventually ended up in a mental hospital. How do you want to cooperate? I have leverage over him. She pulled out a USB drive. This contains all his dirt, including his father's. I took the USB drive. What's the condition? Help me get plastic surgery. She touched her face. I want a new face, a fresh start. Plastic surgery is very expensive. I know you took money from Rose. Lisa smiled eerily. 10 million, wasn't it? I raised an eyebrow. How do you know? I installed a listening device in Rose's office, she said triumphantly. I know many of the Green family's secrets. This was an unexpected bonus deal. I extended my hand, but you'll have to handle the plastic surgery yourself. I'm only paying. All right. The contents of the USB drive were indeed explosive. Not only did it contain evidence of Leo's bribery and cheating, but also evidence of his father's fraudulent accounting and tax evasion. How did you get all of this? Lucas asked, surprised. Women's tactics, Lisa sneered. Men will say anything when they're in bed. I put the USB drive away. These things will be useful at a critical moment. On the eve of the final exams, Leo started acting up. Again, he bribed a few people to spread rumors on the forum that I cheated on the exam, and that I only passed because of Lucas. Nancy is just a good-for-nothing, nothing without a man. I heard Lucas helped her with all her homework. Does someone like that even deserve to study at a university? Seeing these comments, Lucas was furious and wanted to go confront Leo. Don't worry, I stopped him. Let them talk. We'll know once the results are out. Of course, I was confident in my previous life. Because of Leo, I was always helping him with his homework, and my own grades were a mess. But this life was different. I studied diligently and was confident I could get an A in every subject. During exam week, I practically lived in the library. Lucas brought me food every day and quietly kept me company. You don't have to stay with me all the time, I said. I want to stay with you. He flipped through his book. Besides, you look beautiful when you're serious. I couldn't help but laugh. Lucas, with your level of sweet talk, how did you ever win me over? Sincerity, he said earnestly. Every word I've said to you is from the heart. My heart softened again. After the exam, I specifically requested that the grades be made public. When the grade sheet was posted, the entire forum went silent. Nancy, first in her major, a plus in every subject. As for Leo, he failed 3 out of 5 subjects, foot and mouth. Ha. Who said Nancy was a good for nothing? Leo's the real academic slacker, isn't he? I took screenshots and saved them. Then it mentioned the people who had spread rumors earlier. Spreading rumors carries legal responsibility. A lawyer's letter has been sent. Please check your inbox. Lucas gave a thumbs up from the side. Amazing. My girlfriend. That's right. I proudly lifted my chin. Your girlfriend is a top student. Leo, who had failed his exams, completely lost it. He started drinking heavily, gambling, and even doing drugs. Someone filmed him acting crazy in a bar, hugging a strange woman and calling out Jenny's name. How pathetic. Tormented by love. Pathetic. He deserves it. I heard the Green family is going bankrupt. The last one is true. I found out through Lucas that Leo's father's company's capital chain was broken, and several major projects fell through, and the tax bureau has already started investigating them. Those pieces of evidence, I reported anonymously. Rose came again, this time not to threaten, but to plead. Nancy, please, let our family go, she said, tears streaming down her face. Leo is already like this. Do you still want to wipe us out, Aunt Rose? I said calmly. It's not that I won't let you go. It's what you brought upon yourselves. Tax evasion, bribing officials. These are all things you did yourselves, aren't they? But you're the one who reported it. The evidence is conclusive. It doesn't matter who reported it. I stood up. Aunt Rose, instead of begging me, you should hire a good lawyer. When she left, Leo appeared. He was emaciated, his eyes unfocused, clearly having taken drugs. Nancy, he knelt before me. Please, please save my family. Leo, do you remember what you said? I looked down at him. You said, without you, I am nothing. Now look, who is nothing? I was wrong. I was really wrong. He hugged my leg. Nancy, for the sake of our 2 years together, affection. I shook him off. Leo, there was never any affection between us. Only a transaction. Lucas dragged him out. From then on, Leo completely vanished from my world. After the Green family went bankrupt, Jenny found me. Thank you, she said. Thank me for what? Thank you for helping me get rid of the trouble that was Leo. She smiled. Actually, I've always wanted to get rid of him, but due to the relationship between our 2 families, it was never easy to just break ties directly. Now that the Green family is gone, you're free. Yes, she looked out the window. I'm going to the UK next month to pursue my doctorate. Congratulations, Nancy, she suddenly said. Can you see the future? My heart skipped a beat. Why do you say that? A hunch. She looked at me meaningfully. Every step you take is so precise, as if you know what's going to happen. I was silent, but it's okay. Everyone has secrets. She stood up. I wish you and Lucas happiness. You don't like him? I asked. Many people said Lucas was much better than Leo. He's good, but not for me. Jenny shook her head. I want someone who can stand beside me, not someone who worships me like a goddess. That makes sense. The diplomat Jenny married in her previous life was indeed a very opinionated person. Then I wish you can also find the right person. I will. She smiled confidently. The man Jenny, set my sights on won't get away. In the spring of her senior year, Lucas proposed. The location was the restaurant where we had our first official date. He had booked the entire venue and decorated it like a fairy tale. Nancy, he knelt on one knee, holding a simple diamond ring. Marry me. I watched his hands tremble with nervousness and couldn't help but smile. Lucas, did you forget your lines? No. He took a deep breath. Nancy, from the first moment I saw you 3 years ago, I knew you were the one I wanted to protect for life. Every day I've spent with you over these 3 years has been my most precious memory. I can't promise to give you the world, but I swear I will use everything I have to love and protect you. So, will you marry me? My eyes welled up. In my previous life, he had said similar things, and even then, confined to a wheelchair, he insisted on kneeling. I do. He excitedly stood up, picked me up, and spun me around. Thank you for agreeing to marry me. Silly, I smiled, wiping away my tears. I should be the one saying thank you for making me believe in love again. Thank you for giving me the courage to choose again. The day before the wedding, Leo appeared. He had just come out of rehab, so thin he was just skin and bones. Nancy, congratulations. His voice was hoarse. What are you doing here? Lucas blocked me. I just wanted to say goodbye. Leo gave a bitter smile. After tomorrow, you'll be someone else's wife. Leo, I was never yours, I said. I know. He lowered his head. Nancy, I want to ask you a question. Speak. If I hadn't treated you as a substitute, would we have had a chance? I thought for a moment. No. He was stunned. Leo, even without Jenny, you would never truly love me, I said seriously. You only ever love yourself. He was silent for a long time, then turned and left. After a few steps, he looked back. Nancy, Lucas, I wish you happiness. Truly, that was the last time I saw Leo. Later, I heard he went south, opened a small shop, married an ordinary woman, and lived a simple life. The wedding proceeded as scheduled. Lucas's parents were very open-minded and treated me wonderfully, although I had cut ties with my birth family. They said, we are your family now. Jenny also came, flying all the way from England. I really envy you, she said. You found the right person. You'll find it too. I'll take that as a good omen. She raised her glass. Happy wedding. Lisa was also there, completely transformed after plastic surgery, now studying abroad. Thank you, senior, she said sincerely. If it weren't for you, I might still be stuck in that quagmire. You chose to change yourself. As the wedding progressed to the ring exchange, Lucas's hands trembled with nervousness. Don't be nervous, I whispered. I'm just too excited. He blushed. I've waited for this day for too long. Yes, if you count his previous life, he really had waited too long. Lucas, I love you. He paused, then smiled, and it was the brightest smile I had ever seen. I love you too, Nancy, always. For our honeymoon, we went to the Maldives. Blue skies, white clouds, the ocean, everything was so beautiful it felt unreal. Nancy, are you happy? Lucas asked. Happy? I leaned into his embrace. I'm very happy to be with you. I always feel like I'm dreaming. He kissed the top of my head. I'm afraid that when I wake up, you'll be gone. No, I won't. I held his hand. I'm not going anywhere. In my last life, I missed him. In this life, I will never let go again. In the evening, we walked along the beach. Nancy, do you have any wishes? He asked. Wishes? I thought for a moment. I hope we can continue to be this happy. We will, he said firmly. I promise. The moonlight spilled onto the sea, shimmering. I suddenly remembered the scene just before I died in my previous life. Back then, I was covered in scars from sulfuric acid, and Lucas held me, crying heartbrokenly. If there's a next life, he said, I want to be the first to meet you, the first to love you, the first to marry you. Now, his wishes come true, even though I was the one who came back to life. He truly won this time. After we returned from our honeymoon, I discovered I was pregnant. Lucas was so excited he didn't know what to do. Really, I'm going to be a dad. Really. I smiled and showed him the pregnancy test results. He carefully hugged me. This is great, Nancy, this is great. Then he suddenly became nervous. Are you feeling unwell? Do you want to go to the hospital? We'll go now. Don't be so nervous. I reassured him. Pregnancy is a normal thing. How can I not be nervous? He paced anxiously. This is our child. Watching him fumble, I couldn't help but smile. In my previous life, because of my poor health, we never had children. I didn't expect to have one so soon in this life. Lucas, what do you think? Is it a boy or a girl? Either is fine, he said immediately. I'll love a boy or a girl. If it's a girl, let's call her Mia, I said, like my name. Okay, he nodded repeatedly. If it's a boy, let's call him Charles. Why? Because you are my son, he said seriously. My heart melted. 3 months into my pregnancy, I heard the final news about the Green family. Leo's father was sentenced to 10 years for economic crimes, and Rose, unable to bear the blow, suffered a mental breakdown and was admitted to a sanatorium. As for Leo, it was said that he opened a small noodle shop in a small city in the south, married a divorced woman with a child, and lived the most ordinary life. They're probably relieved this way, Lucas said. Maybe. In her previous life, Leo went mad after the Green family went bankrupt and eventually committed suicide by jumping off a building. In this life, at least he's still alive and can start over. Do you regret it? Lucas asked. After all, you two had 2 years. No regrets. I interrupted him. Lucas, let bygones be bygones. He touched my belly. Now and the future are what matter most. Yes, now and the future are what matter most. The day the baby was born, it was raining lightly. It's a girl, Mia. Lucas held the baby, his eyes red. Nancy, thank you. What for? Thank you for giving me a complete family. I reached out and wiped away the tears from the corners of his eyes. Silly, Mia is very much like Lucas, especially when she smiles. If any boy bullies our Mia in the future, Lucas said with a serious expression, I will definitely not let him off the hook. Mia was just born, I said, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. It's better to be prepared, he said, full of conviction. Time passed quickly, and 5 years flew by. Mia was 5 years old, a mischievous little girl. Mommy, she asked me, why does Daddy kiss you every day? Because Daddy loves Mommy. Then I love Mommy too. I want kisses too. She stood on her tiptoes and kissed my cheek. Lucas got jealous. Mia wants to kiss Daddy too. Daddy is the most childish. Mia rolled her eyes, her expression exactly like Lucas's. I smiled, watching the father and daughter bicker, my heart full of warmth. This is the life I want, ordinary, but happy. After Mia started kindergarten, I went back to work at an industry gathering. I met Jenny. She was married, and her husband was indeed a diplomat. They looked very well matched. Long time no see, she greeted me with a smile. Yes, long time no see. I heard you have a daughter. Yes, she's 5. I took out my phone to show her pictures. So cute, she said enviously. I'm also preparing for pregnancy. You'll have one. After chatting for a while, she suddenly said, oh, by the way, I saw Leo at the airport a few days ago. I was stunned for a moment. He's changed a lot, Jenny said. He's gained weight and gone bald. You can't tell he was the campus heartthrob back then. Really, he saw me and just turned and left, she said, shaking her head. Maybe he didn't want to see me. I didn't say anything. Leo was in the past. Mentioning him now brought no ripple of emotion to my heart. Lucas's company went public on the day of the listing. His first call was to me. Nancy, we made it. Congratulations. Hubby, this is all because of you, he said. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be where I am today. Don't say that. It's true, he said seriously. Nancy, you are my goddess of luck. That evening, at the celebration banquet, many people came to offer their congratulations. Someone asked, what's the secret to your success? Lucas glanced at me and said, marrying a good wife. The whole room burst into laughter, but I knew he was serious. My spoiled younger brother, whom my parents doted on, suddenly showed up at my door. Sis, it's Kevin. He stood at the doorway, looking quite down and out. I frowned. What are you doing here? Sister, Mom and Dad were in a car accident. My heart tightened when, last month, he lowered his head. Now there's nothing left at home. I'm really at my wit's end. I fell silent, although I had cut ties with them. Hearing the news still made me feel a little sad. How are they doing now? Dad's gone. Mom's still in the hospital, but the medical bills, I sighed. I'll pay for the medical bills, but that's all, sis. He was so excited he almost knelt down. Don't. I took a step back. Kevin, I'm helping the person who gave birth to me, not you. You're an adult now. You need to learn to live your own life. In the end, I paid the medical bills, but I didn't get involved in anything else. Lucas supported my decision. You did the right thing. Helping is a kindness. Not helping is your right. My mom woke up, but her lower body was paralyzed. I went to the hospital to see her. She had aged a lot, and her hair was completely white. Nancy, she cried, Mommy is sorry. I remained silent. Mom shouldn't have taken money from the Green family back then, shouldn't have treated you like a commodity, she sobbed, gasping for breath. Mom ruined you. What's past is past, I said. Mom, focus on getting better. Can you forgive Mom? I thought for a moment. I don't hate you anymore, but we can't go back to how things were. She burst into tears, walking out of the hospital. I felt a sense of relief. Some hurts cannot be erased with a simple apology, but letting go of the hatred is better for everyone. Mom, what is happiness? Mia asked me. Happiness is, I thought for a moment, being with the people you love. Then I'm the happiest, she said cheerfully, because I have a mommy and a daddy. Lucas picked her up. Mommy and daddy are the happiest too, because we have Mia. Yes, this is happiness, simple, yet precious. Nancy, Lucas suddenly said, I love you. I know. I want to tell you every day. Okay, outside the window, the sun was just right, and the years were peaceful. If rebirth was a gift from heaven, then meeting Lucas was the greatest fortune of my life. 10 years later, Mia was 15, a graceful young woman. Mom, she said, our school has an assignment to write a family history. Oh, Mom, can you tell me how you and Dad got together? Lucas and I exchanged glances and both smiled. It's a long story, I said. I have all the time in the world, Mia said seriously, pulling out her notebook. It all started when your mother was 21. Lucas began to recount. Of course, he omitted the unpleasant parts, only mentioning the good ones. Wow, Dad is so romantic. Mia's eyes sparkled. Indeed, Lucas beamed proudly. Mom, Mia suddenly asked, do you have any regrets? Regret what? Regretting meeting Dad too late. I paused for a moment, then shook my head. Not late, just right. Yes, just right. If I hadn't been reborn, if I hadn't gone through all that, I wouldn't have learned to cherish things, wouldn't have grown into the person I am today. Everything is for the best, Mia. I stroked her head. Remember, there are no ifs in life, only outcomes and consequences. What do you mean? It means, once you've made a choice, don't regret it. You have to be responsible for your own choices. Oh, she seemed to understand, yet not quite, and, Lucas added, when you encounter a scumbag, get away from them early. Dad, how do you know what a scumbag looks like? Because, he glanced at me, your mom taught me. We all laughed. Yes, I used the lessons from my previous life to gain happiness in this one. Worth it. Everything is worth it. After hearing the stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.